My name is Naomi Reyes, and I am 27 years old. The mirror in the Pasadena bridal salon made me look like a careful decision. Satin held its breath across my shoulders, and the seamstress pinned a final dart as if she were closing a small secret. My mother dabbed the corner of her eye with a handkerchief that she pretends not to carry. "Tomorrow will be perfect," she said. The room smelled faintly of roses and pressed cloth, and everyone spoke as if beauty might shatter if a voice rose too high. Perfection had followed me for months. Seating charts, calligraphy place cards, a cake that looked like a white peony. Evelyn, my maid of honor, moved through tasks like a conductor, and my father smiled the firm smile of a man who believes in schedules more than omens. I kept nodding at choices and felt my own voice grow smaller inside them. By evening, I was back at our townhouse near Orange Grove Boulevard, where the air tasted like citrus and a sky of soft gold pressed itself against the windows. I told my mother I would walk down the block to clear my head. Instead, I ordered a rideshare and asked to be dropped a street over from Adrian's place. I told myself I wanted to set a wedding watch he had left on his nightstand. I told myself a dozen small reasons that were not the real reason. The building was quiet, the kind of quiet that makes a hallway feel longer. Adrian's sister had given me a spare key for emergencies. The word emergency had never felt like it fitted my life until that moment. I let myself in. The apartment was neat, almost staged, as if it were ready to be photographed. Voices came from the study. I stopped beside the bookshelf, and the books became a wall. Adrian's voice was low and measured. "After tomorrow," he said, "everything is settled. Her family will not let anything fall apart. The clinic will expand. We can move on the condo in Santa Monica before summer." Another voice, a woman I recognized from his office, answered softly, "And us." He hesitated. "You know what I mean. Stability first, feelings later." There are words that make a sound like glass inside your chest. I stood very still and counted my breath. 1, 2, 3. I set the watch on the edge of the bookshelf. I stepped backward from the study doorway, the way a swimmer moves out of cold water. On the street, Los Angeles evening traffic moved like a silver river. I felt calm, which frightened me more than panic would have. I walked past jacaranda petals that looked like small fallen gowns and let a plan assemble itself in quiet pieces. There would be a suitcase. There would be a note. There would be a morning that was not a wedding. If true stories like this hold you, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. In the next part, I will wake before dawn and choose a door that does not lead to an aisle. I walked the long block back to our townhouse with a quiet that felt deliberate. Inside, my mother had arranged small candles along the mantel as a rehearsal for tomorrow's glow. My dress hung in its pale shroud like a promise no one had signed yet. I stood in the doorway and watched the room hold its breath. In my bedroom, I opened a suitcase and placed practical things inside it, as if I were packing an argument that did not need to raise its voice. 2 changes of clothes, 1 pair of shoes that could endure a city's sidewalks, my passport and a folder with my birth certificate, social security card, and insurance information. A copy of my resume and 3 printed references folded into a manila envelope. A slim book to read on a train because I wanted a sentence that belonged to no one else. I slipped a small rosary from my grandmother into the side pocket. I did not believe it would work a miracle. I believed it would remind me to breathe. On the dresser, I placed the ring in a velvet box and wrote a note on thick stationery. I addressed it to my parents because they were the ones who raised me to tell the truth, even when the truth rearranges a room. Mother and father, please do not worry. I am safe. I am choosing not to marry Adrian. I heard words tonight that made it clear that our marriage would be a transaction wrapped in romance. I prefer the scandal of leaving to the slow humiliation of staying. I will call when the ground under my feet feels steady. I love you, Naomi. I wrote a shorter note for Adrian and folded it around the watch he had left at my place weeks ago. The watch is set. I am not. I sealed the note and set it beside the ring. Evelyn texted a photograph of the seating chart as if perfect order could anchor a heart. I typed one sentence and did not send it. Then I turned off the phone and slid it deep into my bag. I would speak when I could speak without shaking. Before dawn, I left the townhouse with the suitcase rolling softly behind me. The air was cool and smelled faintly of oranges and wet pavement. I took a rideshare to the light rail station and rode the first train toward Union Station. The city stirred around me in fragments. A woman with a lunch pail, a man with paint on his boots, a child asleep on a shoulder. At Union Station, I bought a one-way ticket on the Pacific Surfliner. I chose the first southbound train. The board flickered. San Diego, Oceanside, Santa Ana, names like doors. When the train pulled in, I lifted my suitcase and stepped inside. The platform slid away. The city widened, then softened, then released me to the line of the coast. If stories like this keep you close, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. In the next part, I will arrive in a new city with a suitcase and my own name, and I will begin again without an aisle. The Pacific Surfliner slid along the edge of the morning, and the coastline opened like a long breath. Palms stood with the patience of people who have seen many departures. I held the small rosary in my pocket and counted stations instead of doubts. When the train eased into San Diego's Santa Fe Depot, the building looked like a postcard that had decided to remain real. White arches, blue tiles, a bell that seemed to remember other bells. I stepped onto the platform with one suitcase and a name that still belonged to me. The air smelled like salt and warm metal. Inside the depot, a woman in a navy blazer pointed me toward a rack of maps. I took one and folded it along a new crease, the way you teach paper where to allow you through. A budget inn on Broadway had a vacancy. The lobby hummed with a soda machine and a television set to a channel that believed the world could be explained in headlines. The desk clerk wore a gold name tag that read, Marta. She looked at my suitcase and then at my face. "You will want a quiet room," she said. "Second floor, far from the ice machine." She handed me a key that felt heavier than it looked. In the room, I set the suitcase on the bed and placed my documents on the desk. I opened my wallet and counted the money I had saved from shower envelopes and tutoring hours and the vendor refunds that appear when a wedding breaks like porcelain. I wrote the number in my notebook and made a plan that did not pretend numbers are feelings. 2 weeks at the inn if necessary. Food from a grocery, not from a menu. A bus pass. 3 applications a day. 1 hour to walk, and remember that a body is not a ledger. I found the nearest branch library and asked for a guest card. The librarian, Ms. Alvarez, had silver hair and a pencil behind her ear. She showed me the computer sign-in sheet and tapped the corkboard where people had pinned job flyers and roommate notices. "When people start over," she said, "this board learns their names first." I printed 10 copies of my resume and 3 cover letters with sentences that sounded like me. I circled a posting for an entry role at a small marketing firm in North Park and another for a front desk position at a clinic near Balboa Park. I wrote both addresses in my notebook, then wrote today so that the page would not give me permission to wait. On my way out, Ms. Alvarez said, "There is a farmer's market on Thursday. They hire part-time staff to manage lines. It pays little money and much steadiness. I thanked her and added a third line to the list. Back at the inn, I ironed a blouse on a towel and practiced a smile that did not apologize for existing. I stacked the resumes, placed 3 in a folder, and laid one hand on the cover as if I were blessing bread. I did not call home. Not yet. I chose silence that keeps its promises. If stories like this keep you close, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. In the next part, I will knock on the first door and learn what a beginning sounds like in a lobby. Morning light spread across the sidewalks like new paper. I carried 3 resumes in a simple folder and walked up University Avenue toward North Park, where the storefronts looked like they had been arranged by someone who believed color can keep a person from giving up. A cafe opened its doors and let out the reliable smell of beans and warm milk. I kept walking and let the smell pass through me without turning my head. The marketing firm occupied the second floor of a building with a mural of birds that seemed to be lifting the bricks. I pressed the button beside a small brass plate and felt the click in my bones. A woman with slate gray glasses opened the door. "Good morning," she said. "I am Sophia Park, office manager. You must be Naomi." Her voice carried a hinge that could close gently or firmly, depending on how a person handled themselves. The lobby held 3 chairs, a ficus that had learned patience, and a bulletin board with recent work clipped to it with wooden pins. I sat and read the board as if it were a map. A neighborhood clinic's flu campaign, a small bakery's reopening after a flood, a community college series about adult night classes in accounting and design. The work felt like it had hands. A second woman stepped out from a conference room with a tablet and a smile that did not waste energy. "I am Marina Ortega, creative director," she said. "We have an opening for a junior coordinator. The work is real. The pay is honest but not grand. The hours are steady. Can you stay for 30 minutes? "Yes," I said. We sat at a small table near the window. Marina asked questions that lived in both columns of a ledger, skill and steadiness. She asked how I handled a client who wanted everything by yesterday. She asked how I kept a team from floating away when a deadline moved like a boat in wind. I answered plainly. I did not dramatize my strengths. I did not apologize for being new to this city. I said that I knew how to hold a calendar like a spine. I said that I believed the right word at the right hour can change the temperature in a room. Sophia returned with water in paper cups and listened with the careful face of someone who knows where the seams hold. Marina glanced at her once, then back at me. "We can offer a 90-day probation, full-time hours, clear expectations," Marina said. 2 references must speak by end of week. If you accept, you start Monday. There is a kind of relief that does not shout. It settles like a clean sheet on a bed. "I accept," I said. "My references will answer." Sophia handed me a thin packet. "Read this tonight," she said. "Sign tomorrow. We believe in slow excellence. We also believe in lunch at noon. Can you live with both?" "Yes," I said, and the word felt like a door that opened toward air. Outside, the day had lifted its shoulders. I stood on the sidewalk and let myself be exactly as happy as the moment allowed. Then I walked to the clinic near Balboa Park and handed a resume to a receptionist with kind eyes, because a second door never hurts. Back at the inn, I ironed the blouse again and called Ms. Alvarez at the library to thank her for pointing me toward the board. "That board likes you," she said. "It will keep liking you if you keep showing up." If stories like this keep you close, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. In the next part, I will begin the 90-day probation and learn the shape of a day that belongs to me. On Monday, I woke before my alarm and laid my hand on the suitcase as if it were a dog that needed reassurance. The budget inn hummed with morning televisions and the wheeled whisper of cleaning carts. I dressed in the pressed blouse, tied my hair back, and walked to the bus stop with my folder held like a promise I intended to keep. The bus sighed and carried a small chorus of yawns, headphones, and coffee breath. I watched sunlight climb the buildings on University Avenue and felt steadier with each stop. At the office, Sophia Park handed me a key card and a short list that fit on one page. Desk. Calendar. Meeting at 10, she said. Lunch at noon. Her hinge voice closed gently today. My desk faced a window that held a square of sky and the top branches of a young tree that had been staked with tidy ropes. A small plant waited in the corner with a note. Welcome, Naomi. Slow excellence likes water. Marina Ortega walked me through the week as if she were reading a tide chart. 3 active clients will touch you, she said. The clinic flu campaign, the bakery reopening, the night classes at the community college. You will keep the calendars true, gather assets, and hold the line on words so that they do their jobs. We sat with Amaya, the account lead for the clinic. She outlined the city sites that would host pop-up shots and the translation schedule for Spanish and Vietnamese. I wrote crisp notes and asked for the names of the nurses who would do interviews, because a line of copy behaves better when you know who is saying it. We met Janelle, who managed the bakery project and who smelled faintly of cinnamon because she visited the space that morning. She showed me a mood board with warm light and plates that looked like holidays without the fight. By noon, the office moved toward the small kitchen with the unhurried grace of a habit. I carried my lunch and listened to the talk that rises when a team remembers it is made of people. Someone offered me grapes. Someone asked whether I had found a room to rent yet. I said I was looking and that the inn worked for now. No one pressed. It felt like air. In the afternoon, I learned the project tool, color-coded and clean. I set reminders that sounded like a friend who does not nag. I drafted a short email for the clinic about hours and locations that respected the time of tired parents. Marina read it, changed one verb, and said, "Hold this tone." It felt like learning to walk with a book on my head and liking the balance. At dusk, I thanked the plant for surviving my first day and stepped into the street. The sky wore a ribbon of light over the roofs. I bought groceries at a small market, rice and beans and greens and a lime because color helps a room breathe. Back at the inn, I ate slowly, paid for another week, and circled 2 roommate notices from the library board. I kept my phone dark. Silence can keep its promises. If stories like this keep you close, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. In the next part, I will find a room, learn the office rhythm, and discover what steadiness can build in 90 days. By the end of the first week, I knew the rhythm of the crosswalk outside the office and the time of day when the sun turned the conference room table into a strip of warm gold. I also knew the weight of a suitcase that waits by a door too long. On Saturday morning, I returned to the library and pinned a small card on the board that read, "Quiet tenant seeks quiet room. Steady work. Steady hours. References available." Ms. Alvarez tapped the notice with her pencil. "Check the bottom left," she said. "Rooms are shy and hide there." A card in neat blue pen read, "Room in normal heights. Back garden. Shared bath. No smoking. 2 bus lines." I called from the payphone by the vending machine and spoke to a woman named Anita Flores, who sounded like someone who waters plants before the heat arrives. The room was small and clean, with a window that faced a lemon tree and a desk that had a scar where a hot cup once sat too long. Anita showed me the kitchen rules, the laundry schedule, and the back steps where people sit when they need to think without being watched. Rent is due on the first day of each month, she said. Cash or check. Quiet after 10. We keep lemons in a basket by the sink for anyone who needs brightness. I handed her the references and said that brightness would help. She nodded once and gave me a key that had been tagged with a paper circle and the letter N. I moved in that afternoon and stood in the new room with my suitcase open like a book about leaving. I placed the rosary on the desk and the slim book on the windowsill. I called the budget in and thanked Marta for the quiet room by the ice machine. She said, "Come by and say hello when you miss the hum." On Monday, I settled into the office with a steadiness that felt earned. Amaya and I adjusted the clinic schedule to add an evening hour for parents who could not leave work before 6. The community college approved a line that reminded adults that skill is a muscle. The bakery owner cried softly over a photograph that showed light catching sugar like snow. Marina read my email drafts and changed 2 commas and 1 verb. "We are close," she said. "Hold tone." I wrote a letter to my parents by hand. I told them I was safe, working, and living in a house that kept lemons by the sink. I did not explain more than that. I mailed the letter with a stamp that had a blue heron on it because the bird looked like it understood leaving and returning. That evening I bought rice, beans, greens, and a small piece of salmon. I ate at the desk and watched the lemon tree darken into a silhouette. My phone remained dark by choice, but I felt the ground under my feet shift from sand toward something that holds. If stories like this keep you close, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. In the next part, a voice from my old life will find me, and I will learn how to hold the phone without losing the room. 2 weeks into probation, the house in Normal Heights felt like a held breath that had learned how to exhale. I woke before the alarm and listened to the soft mourning of the neighborhood. A gate hinge, a bicycle chain, a kettle across a wall. I made tea, sliced a lemon from the basket Anita keeps by the sink, and wrote 3 lines in my notebook about work that meant something and people who spoke like adults. At 9:30, the desk phone at the office blinked with a call that Sophia transferred without comment. "Naomi," she said simply, and the line clicked. "Naomi," said Evelyn, her voice precise, as if she were pinning a seam. "I have left messages. I have sent emails. Your mother is sleeping badly." I stood and put one hand on the window frame so that the room could hold me up. "I sent a letter," I said. "I am safe. I am working." "You ran away," she said. "You left a note on your parents' dresser and a sentence for Adrian that felt like a knife. There is a way back from this if you stop now." "There is not," I said. She took a breath that I could hear through the line. "Listen to me. I am your friend. I am your maid of honor, even if the honor has been misplaced. Adrian is devastated. He wants to see you. He wants to apologize for his words. He says he was talking about practical matters and used careless language." "I heard him," I said quietly. "I heard the shape of the life he meant to build with my name." "Marriage is partly a practical matter," she said. "You plan, you budget, you choose a neighborhood that does not drown you. Your parents have already paid vendors. The hotel has the block reserved. People are asking questions with sharp mouths. Come home and let us manage this." "I did not run from a bill," I said. "I walked from a lie." Silence pressed its hands against the glass between us. Then she changed keys. "Where are you?" she asked. "I will come to you. We will talk in a cafe. You do not owe me a location, but you do owe me a conversation." "I owe you honesty," I said. "This is it. I am in San Diego. I have work. I have a room with a lemon tree. I will not meet Adrian. I will not sit in a cafe where he can arrive with a speech." "You sound different," she said softly, as if the fact bruised her. He is going to find you. He may try, I said. I will still be myself when he does. I ended the call gently and stood with my forehead against the cool of the glass until my breath felt like mine again. The room had stayed with me. The workday waited. If stories like this keep you close, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. In the next part, Adrian will arrive with flowers and a plan, and I will say words that do not leave room for a door to open behind me. At 11:40, the lobby phone rang and Sophia looked at me with the calm face she saves for weather. "Visitor for you," she said. "He is holding flowers." I already knew the shape of the bouquet, pale roses, wrapped in white paper that wants to feel like silk. I stood, smoothed my blouse, and said, "We will use the lobby. Please stay." Sophia opened the glass door. Adrian stepped in as if a camera had been pointed at him. He held the flowers the way a person holds proof. His eyes moved over the room, found me, and softened with a practiced relief. "Naomi," he said, as if the name could undo a night and a train. "Thank God. I came to apologize. I came to correct what you overheard." Sophia stood at the desk and did not pretend to shuffle papers. The ficus by the window listened. "You did not misspeak," I said. "You revealed." He took a breath and pressed the bouquet toward me. "Take these. Let us sit somewhere that is not a hallway. I spoke about stability because stability matters. I spoke about the clinic because I carry responsibilities like a man should. I should not have said feelings later. I meant we will build the practical first, and the rest will follow." I did not take the bouquet. "I will stand," I said. "You may stand as well." Color rose along his collar. "You are angry," he said gently, as if naming it would shrink it. "I understand. I have a plan that will make this right. We will push the ceremony by 1 month. We will meet with a counselor that my colleague recommends. I will put the Santa Monica purchase on hold. We will choose a place that feels like yours. I will prove that you are not a lever for anything." "You already have," I said. "You proved it when you spoke without the performance." The hinge in his jaw clicked. "You are choosing a scandal," he said. "You are choosing to humiliate your family and to destroy months of work because you walked into a half conversation." "I am choosing the truth," I said. "I prefer a loud ending to a quiet life in which I do not belong to myself." He lifted the flowers again, smaller now. "At least meet with me tomorrow. Lunch. Coffee. 30 minutes. "No," I said. "Then tell me what you need to hear so that you can come home." "I need you to hear this," I said. "I will not marry you. I will not reconsider. I will not meet you. You will not come to my home or my office again. You will not call my colleagues, my landlady, or my friends. If you need closure, you will find it without me." Sophia stepped forward and took the bouquet. "These will go to the community clinic," she said. "They brighten waiting rooms." Adrian stared at the space where the flowers had been. "Is this final?" he asked. "It is finished," I said. He nodded once, like a man signing for a package he did not order. He turned, opened the door, and left the roses behind him. I stood very still until my hands stopped remembering the weight of what I had not taken. Sophia placed the bouquet on the counter and said, "Lunch is at noon." The clock agreed. My day did not break. If stories like this keep you close, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. In the next part, the ripples will reach my parents' house, and I will speak with them without letting the conversation decide who I am. The bouquet went to the clinic's waiting room, where a child touched one pale petal and smiled as if softness had weight. I returned to my desk and finished a line about evening hours for tired parents. I held the day on course. At 5:40, my phone lit with my mother's name. I let it ring once, then answered. "Naomi," she said, and my name carried the ache of a house that has set a table for a feast that will not happen. "We heard he came to your office. Evelyn said he left flowers." "He did," I said. "Are you safe?" she asked. "Can we come to you?" "I am safe," I said. "You may come tomorrow. We will meet outdoors in Balboa Park, by the lily pond, at 11. There was a pause in which I could hear her counting the ways a mother worries. "We will be there," she said. In the morning, the city wore a clear blue that made buildings look honest. I arrived early and stood near the water where bright fish moved like commas that meant a sentence would go on. My parents walked toward me from the direction of the museum. My father's jaw looked set. My mother's hands kept smoothing air. She reached me first. "We love you," she said before anything else. "Please let that be the floor we stand on." "It is," I said. My father looked past me at the water. "Adrian says you misunderstood him," he said. "He says he spoke about stability and business because he was nervous. He says he used poor words." "I did not misunderstand," I said. "I heard a plan that required me to become leverage. I will not become that." My mother pressed her lips together and tried again from a different angle. "There are deposits," she said. "There are vendors who planned for us. There are relatives already on flights and in dresses. There is a story that will be told about you, and I hate the edges of it." "I will take responsibility for anything that is mine," I said. "I will speak with vendors about what I owe and what I do not. I will not return to an aisle that I do not believe in. If people need a sentence, give them this one. Naomi ended the engagement. She asks for privacy. Say nothing else." My father exhaled. "You are not a child," he said, which was both a warning and a blessing. "Do not make us your shield if you choose this." "I am not asking you to be my shield," I said. "I am asking you not to be my translator. Do not soften what I did. Do not harden it into a myth. Keep it plain." We walked the length of the pond and back. Ducks stitched the surface into small patterns that did not last. My mother touched my sleeve. "Please promise one thing," she said. "No surprise visits from him. No cafes where he can appear with a speech." "I promise," I said. "I have already said no." My father nodded once. "Do not hide from us," he said. "Call on Sundays. Tell us 3 true things. We will learn the rest slowly." "I will call," I said. Before we parted, I asked for one boundary of my own. "Do not give him my address," I said. "Do not send photographs of where I live. If he wants closure, he will find it without me." They agreed. We stood for a moment as if we were 3 people on a dock watching different boats. Then we hugged, careful and real. That evening, I wrote the meeting into my notebook in 4 lines. "We love you as the floor. I did not misunderstand as the wall. Plain sentences as windows. Sundays as a bridge. If stories like this keep you close, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. In the next part, I will return to Pasadena once, gather what is mine, and leave with keys, not permission." I chose a weekday morning when Pasadena would be at work, and the street near Orange Grove Boulevard would wear its quiet. I sent my parents a simple message. "I will stop by between 9 and 11 to collect what belongs to me. Please do not invite guests. Please do not inform Adrian." My father replied with 2 words that fit inside a square. "Understood. Come." The townhouse opened with the key that had lived on my ring since college. Inside, the air held the faint sweetness of last week's roses and the starch of pressed cotton. My dress still hung in its pale garment bag like a sentence that had lost its verb. I placed the bag on the bed, unzipped it, and folded the satin carefully into the box from the salon. The seamstress's pins shone like small warnings. I wrote a note and tucked it beside the bodice. Unused. Please resell. Charge me for labor. Naomi. The box would go back this afternoon with a thank you and a tip, because dignity also pays for work done. In my room, I packed what was mine and only mine. The worn blue sweater my grandmother had knit when I left for college. 2 framed photographs that did not include Adrian. A stack of notebooks with my handwriting in the margins like vines. My degree folder. A small tin of letters from friends who wrote truth without decoration. On the desk lay a jar of coins that my father calls ballast. I poured the coins into a cloth bag, not because I needed the money, but because weight belongs to itself. On the dresser sat the velvet ring box I had left the night I wrote my note. I did not touch it. I slid my apartment key from the larger ring and placed it on a folded towel for my mother to find later. I kept the front door key to the townhouse for now. I would return it when Sundays had taught us a new shape. My mother stepped into the doorway and did not cross the carpet line. She held a grocery sack as if habit had sent her to the kitchen and the day had sent her to me. "Do you want tea?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "Plain." We stood with cups between us at the counter. "Evelyn offered to bring the dress to the salon," she said. "I told her you would handle it. I told her to let the day be quiet." "Thank you," I said. "There is a florist deposit in my name," she continued. "We will cover it. You will not." "I will share the vendor list," I said. "Mark what you have paid. I will pay what belongs to me." She nodded once. "Adrian's mother called last night. I did not give her your address. I will not." "Thank you," I said again. I carried 2 boxes to the car. On the second trip, I met Evelyn at the gate. She had the careful smile of a person who has decided to behave well and hopes the decision will be noticed. "I came to take the dress," she said. "It is a kindness." "I already packed it," I said. "I will deliver it." She looked at the boxes in my arms and then at my face. "You look older," she said. Not older as in tired, older as in decided. "I am decided," I said. She stepped aside. "Then I will not follow you," she said, which was the best version of friendship she could manage today. I loaded the trunk, returned to the doorway, and looked once at the room that had held every version of me so far. I did not ask the room to forgive me for changing. I locked the door, slid the key back into my pocket, and drove to the salon to leave the dress with my note and the tip inside an envelope. At the post office, I mailed 3 letters with checks for cancellation fees that belonged to me. I kept the 4th letter in my bag. It was addressed to myself and contained a single line. "Better a loud ending than a quiet betrayal." If stories like this keep you close, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. In the next part, the 90-day mark will arrive at work, and I will learn what employment looks like when a team decides you belong. The 90-day mark arrived the way a tide reaches a line it has promised to reach. I woke before dawn and watched the lemon tree move 1 leaf at a time. Anita left a note by the kettle that read, "There are oranges in the bowl. Take 2 for your pocket." I took one, because acceptance always tastes better when you leave something for the next person. At the office, Sophia Park handed me a short agenda and a small smile that lifted only one corner of her mouth. "Stand up at 10, she said. "Then Marina would like a few minutes." Her hinge voice was set to gentle today. The plant on my desk had grown 1 new leaf, a small flag that looked like the beginning of a sentence. Amaya reviewed the clinic campaign results. Evening hours had tripled attendance for parents who could not leave work on time. A grandmother wrote to say that a nurse had spoken to her in Spanish about dosage and that the respect felt like medicine. Janelle showed a photograph of the bakery's reopening line weaving around the block, the kind of line that makes strangers speak kindly to one another. The community college had filled 2 extra sections of night classes, and the registrar sent an email that ended with a single word: grateful. After stand-up Marina Ortega asked me to sit by the window, the sky held a small strip of pale blue that looked like a bookmark. She set a folder on the table and spoke in the tone of someone who knows how to let good news stand on its own feet. "You met every line we set for the 90-day probation," she said. "You kept the calendars true. You held the tone. You made decisions that protected people's time. The team does not wobble when you are in the room. We would like to offer you a full-time position as project coordinator beginning next Monday with health benefits and a modest raise. We will review again in 6 months for growth." Relief settled over my shoulders like a shawl that had been waiting in a chair. "I accept," I said. "Thank you." Sophia appeared with 2 paper cups and a small box from the bakery. Inside were 4 pastries dusted with light. She placed the box between us. "Lunch is at noon," she said. "This is not lunch." Marina laughed softly, and I felt the room exhale. I sent Ms. Alvarez a thank you note at the library, written on a card that showed the Santa Fe Depot in watercolor. I wrote, "Your board learned my name first." She replied with a single line, "The board remembers those who show up." On Sunday, I called my parents. My father asked for 3 true things. I said, "I have a permanent job. I have a room with a lemon tree. I am eating food that I cook." My mother said the house felt quieter in a better way. I told them I would visit next month with a schedule we would all keep and that there would be no surprise guests. They agreed, and the bridge held. That evening, I walked through North Park and watched the string lights come on above the sidewalk like patient stars. I passed the clinic and the bakery and the community college flyer in a window and let the city return my name to me. I went home, turned the key, and set 2 oranges on the desk beside the rosary and the plant with the new leaf. It felt like a room I had earned. If stories like this keep you close, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. In the final part, I will meet someone who speaks plain, visit home without surrendering myself, and write the last line that lets the door stay open to air. On a Thursday afternoon, I followed Ms. Alvarez's old advice and walked through the farmer's market. Lines moved with the patience of people who understand that waiting can be a kind of peace. A man lifted crates of greens from the back of a truck and set them down with the quiet strength of someone who likes useful work. He wore a canvas cap and a shirt that had known sun. "Careful with that corner," he said to no one in particular. "It catches on the hinge." I steadied the crate without thinking. He glanced up, nodded, and kept moving. When I paid for lemons, he counted them into my bag and said, "The small ones hold more flavor. Big ones try to be the story." His name tag read, Rowan Hale. "Thank you," I said. "I like small stories." He smiled in a way that did not pull at anything. "So do I." He offered a paper card with the farm's name and a line that said, "Deliveries on Tuesdays and Saturdays." No flourish, no pitch. I did not hand him a story about my life. I handed him cash and left with a bag that felt light and enough. 2 weeks later, my first review at work marked 6 months. Marina said I had kept the room aligned. Sophia said my emails had become maps other people used to arrive on time. Amaya and Janelle brought a pastry with a single candle that meant steady flame, not spectacle. I walked home and felt the ground under my feet behave. On Sunday, I kept the agreement with my parents. I drove to Pasadena with a schedule and left with the same name I had arrived with. My father asked for 3 true things. I said, I am saving. I am sleeping. I do not feel small. My mother showed me a drawer where the florist deposit receipt lived and said, we handled what belonged to us. I showed her a letter from the salon that said the dress had been resold and the labor paid, and that someone else would wear a promise that suited her. We stood at the counter and ate orange slices without turning them into symbols. One evening, a message arrived from Adrian with a single sentence. I will not contact you again. I wrote finished beside his name in my notebook and closed the book without ceremony. I met Rowan again on a Saturday. He carried 2 cartons toward a door that sticks. Can you hold the frame? He asked. I did. When the crates were inside, he said, I make coffee that tastes like a clean sentence. If you would like one, come by after closing. There will be no speech. I went. We sat on plastic chairs behind the truck and spoke about work, gardens, and the ways a person chooses a quiet that is not empty. He did not ask about Pasadena. I did not offer it. We ended with a time that sounded like a continuation, not a cliff. When I visited Pasadena the next month, my parents and I walked at dusk without discussing headlines. Evelyn waved from a car and did not stop. The wave felt like mercy. I returned to San Diego and placed 3 lemons on the desk beside the plant and the rosary. I opened my notebook to a clean page and wrote the last line I owed this story. Better a loud ending than a quiet betrayal. Better a steady room than a perfect stage. If stories like this keep you close, please subscribe and be among the first 1,000. Tell me one small decision that made your life steadier, and I will read every word.